Since its introduction in 1899, the K-frame revolver has been a favorite for military, law enforcement, target shooters, and shooting enthusiasts. The Model 66 was a law enforcement go-to service revolver for decades. The Model 66, introduced in 1970 as the stainless version of Smith Wesson's iconic Model 19, was derived from the original Combat Magnum, designed by Bill Jordan in 1955. Combat Magnum, brought about as a duty-sized revolver for police forces looking to step up to Magnum power, kept the same size handgun as their .38 Specials. Today, I am showcasing a Model 66-2, which was manufactured in 1982. So, stay tuned for the facts and foibles, because I will tell you all about them. While the Model 66 Smith & Wesson revolver is pretty much a standard revolver, it does have many features of its own. The overall finish is mildly polished in appearance, while providing all the benefits of stainless steel. The front sight sits on a high pedestal and is of the serrated ramp type with a red plastic insert, which is the only thing about the front sight that can be replaced. The front sight is fixed and not pinned. The barrel is a highly crowned affair at the muzzle end, and which has Smith & Wesson roll marked on the left side and S&W 357 Magnum roll marked on the right side. The top of the barrel is serrated and brushed finished to cut glare all the way back to the frame. The barrel exhibits a partial lug at the bottom, sometimes also called the barrel shroud, that not only protects the cylinder's ejection rod, but also serves as a cylinder locking point, with a spring-loaded cylinder plunger in the ejection rod housing that engages the end of the extractor rod, which is the traditional front lock-up way of doing things. The barrel is perfectly aligned with the frame and is not pinned, as were barrels of previous versions. The forcing cone, the cylinder gap, otherwise known as the flash gap, is extremely tight.
Ronan, how tight is it?
It is so tight that I cannot fit a 0.0015-inch feeler gauge in the flash gap. And yes, I did say 1.5 thousandths of an inch. And this from a revolver built in 1982. With that said, I'm going to mention some information regarding the forcing cone in just a bit. The top of the frame, like the barrel, is brush finished to prevent glare. The replaceable, fully adjustable for windage and elevation rear sight is inset in the frame and is also serrated to cut glare. Secured by a single screw, the rear sight is nearly flush with the top of the frame and slopes up nicely to the elevation adjustment before ending with a white outline notched rear portal through which to align the front sight. As mentioned, the rear sight is fully adjustable, allowing the operator to adjust for different loads and bullet weights. Just to the rear of the rear sight is the highly diamond textured hammer. It has an integral floating fire pin and deep valley in which to place the thumb for cocking or decocking the revolver. I'll get to the trigger in a bit, but first I want to wrap around to the cylinder and then to the forcing cone. The stainless steel left-rotating fluted cylinder holds 6 rounds of 38 Special Plus P, or 357 Magnum ammunition. The cylinder is not recessed, as this feature was dropped in 1982, along with pin ejector stars, and neither of which this model has. The cylinder locks up, as mentioned, at the front of the ejector rod and also at the rear with the cylinder's locking latch, and at the bottom with the cylinder's locking lug. There is perceptible cylinder slide play when at full lockup, and perceptible cylinder end-to-end play under the same condition. With that said, I still cannot fit a 1.5 thousandths of an inch feeler gauge between the face of the cylinder and the rear of the forcing cone when the revolver is at full lockup. You may have noticed from the photos that there is no security key lock anywhere. Now, let's take a look at that forcing cone. You will notice that the forcing cone is not completely round in its radius. It is, in fact, flat at the bottom, and there was a reason for this. To allow the cylinder into the frame, the bottom of the forcing cone had to be milled flat to allow clearance for the cylinder gas ring, which lies between the face of the cylinder and the crane. While the cylinder could now enter and be locked up within the frame, this flat spot of the forcing cone is a weak link in the chain. The forcing cone is the place most susceptible to breakage. The forcing cone is the rear entrance of the barrel where the bullet transitions from the cylinder to the barrel. It protrudes into the cylinder window a little. How much varies depending on the model. Gas pressure is extremely high here, which is why the support hand needs not to be anywhere near this area when the gun fires and gas pressure blasts out from the gap. The forcing cone is thinner than the barrel. Hot gases can gradually eat away at the forcing cone, and high pressure puts a tremendous strain on it, and also the area above the forcing cone on the top strap. The forcing cone can not only crack, but the forcing cone can be completely destroyed, resulting in a highly unsafe firearm. Some guns are known for being subject to cracking forcing cones. Smith Wesson K-frame guns, such as the 357 Magnum Model 19, are guilty of this. A steady diet of Magnum ammunition will take its toll on forcing cones of any revolver. With standard pressure loads, and not Magnum ammunition, damaging forcing cones is not prevalent. Cracked forcing cones are not unique to Smith & Wesson revolvers. Do an internet search, and you will find forcing cone failures with Ruger, Colt, and Taurus revolvers. For this reason, I stoke 38 Special Plus P ammunition in all of my revolvers that I carry for defensive purposes, unless I am in an environment that might call for a more powerful load. Then again, I would probably be carrying a larger frame revolver with a beefier frame and barrel, as I would in the country, where furry predators might want to include me in their lunch or dinner menu. Okay, it's time to move on. The trigger guard is nicely shaped and contoured while protecting that most precious part of the firearm called the trigger. The trigger is wide, serrated, and contoured to assist the trigger finger in doing its job, pulling it. The trigger is one nice solid piece that is not hollowed out at the rear, like many triggers that I have seen in current revolvers. Pulling the trigger on this Model 66-2 is smooth as glass and one of the nicest that I have felt on any revolver. The double-action trigger pull weight is 3 pounds, 13.4 ounces, while the single-action pull weight is an amazing 4.3 ounce average. as indicated on my Wheeler digital trigger pull gauge. There is absolutely no stacking during the double action pull, and one can pass over the staging point very easily. The trigger discipline is not followed during practice or when firing a revolver in a stressful encounter. For me, this revolver would not be carried for defensive purposes, as I consider the trigger too light to pull, especially with a gloved hand that would be worn during cold weather, and which reduces the tactile touching of the trigger. To finish covering the frame, the source of manufacturer is just below the cylinder on the right side, and the Smith Wesson logo is on the left side, just below the cylinder latch. That is, as normal on Smith & Wesson revolvers, pushed forward to release the cylinder, and which has enough texturing and real estate to do so. The back strap is nicely contoured, serrated, and exposed with the grip panels that are on the revolver. The square butt design of the revolver makes it ideal to mount square butt target style grip panels, and that is what is on this revolver. The grip panels have excellent checkering in the palm area, are fastened with a single screw, and incorporate the Smith & Wesson logo on each side, which is inset into the grip. The grip fills the entire hand and is wide and flared at the bottom to enable a very positive grip with dry or wet hands. Alright, I think that I have covered the features well enough to warrant a trip to the range. So, buckle up, Buttercup, because I am going to put this classic revolver to use, punching some paper. Before I get to shooting, there is something that I will let you know up front. While the Smith & Wesson Model 66-2 is capable of firing .357 Magnum ammunition, none will be fired today, for several reasons. The first is that I respect the gun, its age, and its limitations. Secondly, there is no reason to fire .357 Magnum ammunition. This revolver was a new product. Like other .357 Magnum revolvers that I have recently reviewed, I probably would fire .357 Magnum ammunition through it for demonstration purposes. Third, this gun does not belong to me. While my son-in-law would say, "Go ahead and shoot whatever you want," I go back to reason number one, respect for the firearm. Fourth, I get no kicks out of shooting high-powered Magnum loads except to say that, yep, that worked. I've walked away from those days of seeing how much muzzle blast felt recoil and also seeing how close the muzzle can come close to my face when I pulled the trigger long ago. Enjoy that when you are young, folks, because unlike fine wine, it does not get better with age. Last, in most cases, I find that the original 158 grain lead semi-wad cutter hollow point remains an effective defensive cartridge. In real life, should I carry this revolver for defensive purposes, that cartridge, or perhaps 125 grain jacketed hollow point and plus P rating, would be carried. I have no worries about the latter ammunition being harmful to the gun, given its age and limitations. But I am still only firing .38 Special non-plus P ammunition. I know that some of you out there are going, "Go ahead and fire the hot stuff. I have never seen a gun blow up before." To you I say that there are other YouTube channels that will happily do, and have done, that for you. For me, I am going to get on with shooting standard loads, a few of which are my son-in-law's reloads. So, let's see how I do. Smith Wesson dropped the Model 66 from production in 2005 for a couple of reasons. Law enforcement carry had almost entirely gone to the semi-automatic pistol. Departments and officers who did have the choice to purchase their own handguns rarely purchased revolvers, with the exception of possibly a J-frame for undercover or as an off-duty weapon. Secondly, most .357 Magnum shooters had moved to the slightly heavier L-frame revolvers, like the Model 586-686, because they stood and still stand up to more abuse from heavy .357 Magnum loads than K-frame revolvers. I guess that, in some ways, the Model 66 was the Ruger Security 6 to the GP 100 at the time, an excellent revolver, but which needed to be updated. Rather than update, however, it was replaced. Every now and then I get to play with an old-school firearm from yesteryear, and the Smith Wesson Model 66-2 is one fine example of one. If you are a wheel gun lover and you like Smith & Wesson K-frame revolvers, Smith & Wesson currently has 11 from which to choose. With new models chambering .22 long rifle, .22 Magnum, .38 Special, and .357 Magnum, there is sure to be a K-frame revolver that would fit your fancy. I can attest that the Model 617 4-inch version caught my fancy, and I did a review on it, and the link is in the description section. I would love to see how a Model 648 and .22 Magnum would perform. That's for another time. Well, here we are again, at the end of another chapter in the Range Ronin Chronicles. I hope that you enjoyed it, and will return for more of my gun and gear reviews. Until we meet again, stay vigilant, stay armed, and stay safe out there.